Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's episode. Today's episode is really, really special because I had an opportunity to hear from all of you on Instagram with all of your top manifesting questions. So today we're going to deep dive into answering all of your questions. And hopefully, if you didn't get a chance to ask a question directly by listening to this podcast, you'll have a lot of your manifesting questions answered. So let's jump in. Becoming a co-creator with the creator is your birthright. Together, we'll journey into your deepest authenticity. Because the more you align with who you truly are, the more effortlessly you call in the life that you desire and deserve. And most importantly, the more you step into your soul's highest purpose. Welcome to the Manifestation Method podcast, your number one source for Kabbalistic manifestation. Here we combine the ancient wisdom of Kabbalah, modern psychology, and quantum physics to help you achieve real, tangible manifestation results with my proven Abra method. I'm Ayelet Polonsky, and I'm here to guide you on your journey of manifesting a life that is aligned, expansive, and deeply connected to your highest self through the sacred energetic mechanics of Kabbalistic manifestation. To learn how to use Kabbalistic manifestation to transform your life from the inside out, go to ayeletpolonsky.com or download the Manifestation Method app. Let's open the gates of manifestation together.
Alrighty, so we actually got this question a couple of times, which was really cool because it means a lot of people are experiencing this in their manifestation journey right now. And one of the questions was, how do you distinguish between losing yourself in a dream and manifesting? Or like the question was like, how do I know I'm not fantasizing or versus manifesting? Like, what's the difference?
Yeah, so honestly, I would say that's actually the goal, is to get yourself into that lucid state while manifesting, because it's in that quantum space where 3D reality and quantum version of reality meet, that you're actually starting to bend time and pull that future version of you into the now. So that space that we're in, when it kind of feels like we're in a dream, is actually the goal to be in while we're in our 3D state, right? Because I teach something called hypno activations, which is a deep meditative process that incorporates hypnosis, NLP, and visualization. And when we're in that state, what we're doing is we're deeply visualizing the future version, the manifested version of me, but we're visualizing it from the here and now. And what happens is when we start to activate emotions in our body while doing this deep visualization process, the subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between time and space. So your subconscious actually believes in that state while activating the emotion of that manifestation in your body. Your subconscious believes that you are actually already living that manifested dream version of you. And that state is a very lucid state. It almost seems like a fantasy state. And the more you can access that, the more you're accessing the quantum realm, or what we call the realm of infinite possibility, or in Kabbalistic terms, we'll say the realm of Ein Sof. And then you're actually able to draw that version of you more deeply into the here and now and pull it closer and closer and closer into your everyday life.
So would you say like there's a different feeling between like in that lucid manifesting state versus daydreaming?
So that lucid manifesting state has a level of conscious awareness attached to it. Whereas daydreaming is often, we're not even aware that we're daydreaming when we're daydreaming.
And it's more like disassociation.
Exactly. And I would say that is the fundamental difference, right? There's like fantasy land where your mind just wanders off, but it's not active. Mm-hmm. With these hypno activations that I teach, or any visualization process that one does, you are very much consciously aware of what it is you're doing, and you're hyper focusing with all of your intent on the desired outcome. So I'd say that's the distinguishing factor between like daydreaming and visualizing.
Amazing. So like that also kind of goes into what we were talking about last week in the episode about like what is our frequency and like how to access our frequency.
Yeah, okay. So what is our frequency and how do we access our frequency? I mean, accessing frequency is just a matter of becoming aware of what am I feeling emotionally in my body right now. That's access. Access is your point of awareness. Right? It's if I'm aware of what is moving in my body, then I can use my own consciousness, my own intention to shift and raise my frequency. Okay, so the access point is really, really crucial when it comes to having control over the vibration that we are emitting out to the universe. Okay, but then the frequency itself is also something that we want to micromanage, because if we're having an off day, or if we're feeling slow, or if we're feeling fear, depressed, or anxious, or any of the above, first off, it's important not to shame the fact that we're experiencing those emotions, because we don't want to just spiritually bypass what's real,
Right.
what's alive in me right now. But to the extent that we can have that access point and be aware of what it is I'm feeling, then I always say, if you're aware, then you're winning. Right? The goal is not to never feel unwanted emotions or have negative thoughts. We're going to have them. We're all human. It's part of the dance. Okay.
Right.
But where we're winning is when we can access that point of awareness and say, oh, right now I'm feeling a little bit anxious. Maybe this is an opportunity for me to stop, access my breath, take a few deep cleansing breaths, slow down, access presence, and you'll see just by doing that simple process, instantly your vibrational frequency will shift.
Right. And you can also, I guess, thinking about the people who've asked, how they can tell for themselves also too, but like catch themselves going into a fantasy or a daydream versus being in that dream-like quantum state. I guess it really is also learning the wisdom of your body and like accessing the physical excitement that you get from connecting with your manifestation that's being magnetized towards you.
Yeah, totally. And learning the wisdom of your body is really a practice of slowing down. I think of just shutting off, or quieting, not shutting off, but quieting the mind, and having a practice where we actually aren't afraid to close our eyes and be with ourselves. I hear people say all the time, they're like, I can't do yoga. It's too slow for me. Right. I'm like, it's too slow for you because you're afraid of being with yourself. It's like the space in between the postures where you're actually needing to be with you. That can be a real trigger for people if we haven't learned to actually fall in love with being with ourselves. Which in our generation, we're just immediate gratification. We're constantly being pulled by external stimuli all the time. We've never really been taught how to just be. So it really is an active presence. It's a practice.
And this is also a great segue into our next question, which is, how do we stay in the manifestation mindset when we're losing trust? And this, I guess, goes into the dark unknown too, which is like such a magical place to be.
Yeah, totally. So there's this time period called the dark unknown, which is when someone starts activating their manifestation superpowers or their abilities. What I often see is, let's say when someone starts working with me or they take a course, it's like they'll be given a gift where they start to see their manifestation superpowers get activated, and things that they think about start appearing very quickly. And that's Source's way of telling you, look, you've got this. You've got it in you. And now you've experienced it. But now what I'm going to do, speaking on behalf of God and Source energy, I'm going to now kind of like pull the rug from under you and take that gift back so that you learn how to cultivate this superpower from the inside out and you make it yours. Because if it's just a gift and I keep giving it to you, it's like spoon feeding. You'll never access that on your own for the rest of your life when you're independent. right?
Right.
So this dark unknown time period often comes after an initial beginning point of starting the manifestation journey,
Hmm.
going through the portal, and then all of a sudden it starts to feel like, wait a minute, like things are spiraling backwards and things are
Or
not
even
working.
like the tap has been turned off.
Like the tap has been turned off, and that's why I call it like the unknown dark, right? It's like it kind of feels like you're walking through a forest and it's pitch black and you can't see your way out. And then it's important when you're in the dark unknown to pay attention, because there's going to be moments where a lightning's going to flash. Like you'll see a lightning bolt, like a flash of vision and
Hmm.
direction, or you'll feel like a tug from your soul pulling you in a particular direction, or your intuition is speaking. And so,
Hmm.
so long as you're not covering that voice with thoughts like, oh, this just isn't working, the manifestation process isn't working, oh my gosh, I'm regressing, or as long as you're able to just have a lot of faith in that process of the dark unknown, it's only a matter of time, because it's in the darkness that the seeds are being planted underground, right? It's like
Right.
when the nights are longer and the days are shorter and we don't have the clearest vision and we can't see where we're going, and it looks dark and it looks black and it's scary, right? It's in those process that in that time period of the dark unknown that we are being divinely guided to tap into a certain level, a deep level of trust and faith that it's only a matter of time before my manifestation explodes right before my eyes. And oftentimes when we're in a time period, a long time period of the
Hmm.
dark unknown, the manifestation that appears on the other end of it is like more magnificent than the intention we even had placed to begin with.
Right. And it's also the dark unknown is such a good time to unblock your subconscious mind and really find out like where your tunnel vision is and where you're blocking yourself. I think too, like with the dark unknown, it's like also a really great metaphor that like a really famous Kabbalistic metaphor is the receiving of the light into the vessel. And it's almost like thinking about, okay, like let's say your vessel, you start at like you're only like a cup or half a cup. And then the universe wants to pour an entire 2 cups of water. Like you're not going to be able to contain 2 cups of water if you're only like a half cup vessel size, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And like the process of growing our vessel is really all about the unblocking process and becoming more authentic with ourselves and keep doing the work, like keep doing your activations, keep rewiring your subconscious mind, keep catching yourself when you're in these moments where you can, like you said, like you can go from reaction to awareness, and do the healing work. Like that is such a good opportunity to do it, because when the tap turns back on again, like you want your vessel to be really big to receive these huge manifestations.
That's right. And I would even encourage people who are going through this period of the dark unknown where it's like they
Mm-hmm.
can't really see the light at the end of the tunnel, really, really take advantage of this time, like you said, to do the inner work. Because if you take advantage of this time and not see it as like, nothing's happening, but see it as everything is happening beneath the
Mm-hmm.
surface. And the
Mm-hmm.
more you access this time to kind of hibernate and cocoon, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
the caterpillar becoming the butterfly in the chrysalis process, right? The
Right.
caterpillar in that process of being cocooned, right, is actually becoming mush within that cocoon. And the DNA that the butterfly needs in order to become the butterfly is already present in the caterpillar when he was a caterpillar. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
in the cocooning process that the DNA starts to restructure, like decompose and restructure and alchemize itself so that the caterpillar can turn into a butterfly. But there is a lot of magic that is
Yes.
happening in that dark unknown time period of the cocoon phase. Like that chrysalis phase, the more one takes advantage of it and sees it as an opportunity versus a curse, you'll see that you are more equipped to becoming a vibrational match for what it is that your real desire is calling in for when you actually do become that butterfly.
Absolutely. And the when the caterpillar is turning into butterfly, like when it's in chrysalis mush phase, you know, it's not thinking like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to become a butterfly? Like, am I going to be mush forever?
Right.
Enjoy the mush phase if you're in it right now.
Totally,
It
totally.
really is such a
I
good
love the mush
opportunity.
phase. Like, I
Yeah, mush phase
honestly,
is
like,
good.
I don't know if people can tell on social media, but I actually go through time periods where I retreat. Like, I really don't show up as much. And
Hmm.
that for me is such sacred time. It's such sacred time because there's so much churning inside of me and so much that wants to alchemize and evolve and upgrade in my system. And so I take it as an opportunity to actually recode myself on a cellular level. Like, I'm giving
Right.
information to my DNA to
Hmm.
upgrade, to shift, to evolve, because I don't want to stay the same person ever. Like, I'm always wanting to grow, shift, and upgrade. And so I just take it as the best opportunity.
Such a good opportunity. Okay, so there's some questions that we have about like getting specific with manifestation. One was, first of all, can you be specific when it comes to manifestation? The short answer is yes. And then another one that was alongside side of it with specificity is like when you set a deadline for your manifestation, and then it doesn't the deadline passes and the manifestation isn't there yet. Like, what does
Mm-hmm.
that mean?
Yeah.
And
So
how do those two energies play with each other with specificity and deadlines and things of that nature?
yeah. So I would say, I personally, I like to get somewhat specific. I think there's a fine line. And I think that also there's different types of manifestors, right? This is something we
Right,
talk
we talk
about a
about this
lot.
too,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Right. There's different types of manifestors. There's like specific manifestor and non-specific manifestor, right? Like, you happen to be a specific manifestor. I happen to be a
Mhm.
non-specific manifestor. So for
Mhm.
someone like me, who I'm an emotional being, and a passionate being, like, I love to just tap into the energy of what what my desire can offer me. So let's say I'm like manifesting a new home. It might be a little more challenging for me to get so specific about what the kitchen looks like and what the living room looks like and what my bedroom, and that is a little more challenging for me. But I can really, really tap into what it feels like to be in a
Mhm.
home that is spacious and expansive and has room for retreats and has room for
Mhm.
guests and has a
Mhm.
certain like bohemian, rustic, Moroccan Topanga vibe.
Right.
We're literally redesigning my house right now to look like that, which is
Yeah.
why I can get into it. But so for someone who's not specific, I would say get really specific on how the manifestation will make you feel versus someone who is better at is honing in on the visual aspect of their manifestation. Then for you, I would say get as detailed as like what the lamp in the kitchen is going to look like or what the picture on the living room wall is going to look like, right? Like get specific. And can we get specific? Yes. But I don't want you to get so caught up on the specificities that you end up missing the miracle before your eyes, right? Because oftentimes a person can get so hyper specific and let's say a woman wants to manifest her husband, which I see
Right, like by, let's say, like November 1st.
right. What I mean, by November 1st, or even more so, let's say she comes to me with like a bucket list of all of the requirements that he needs to come with. He needs to be 6'4". He needs to have red hair. He needs to have freckles and green eyes, and he needs to have his left ear pierced, and he needs to wear gold bracelets or whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like it's okay to get specific so long as there's an inner space of surrender and letting go from the outcome. Okay,
Mhm.
because you don't want to miss the miracle when it gets brought into your vortex, when it gets brought into your field. And so, I like playing with all sorts of
My second
manifesting.
barrel's coming in.
And now, in terms of setting a specific date, I always say this. I personally like setting specific dates for myself because for me, I'm able to surrender from the outcome. So if the manifestation doesn't happen by the date that I had written down, I'm not going to be incredibly distraught over it because I know that I'm just being rerouted to something that is more aligned for me. And for me, setting a date is very important because it helps me kind of hone in and hyper focus all of my energy around a specific dated outcome that also fosters excitement inside of my system. So when it comes to setting a specific date, I personally actually love getting specific. I don't think it's for everyone, but I think if someone really is able to cultivate a surrendered inner space, and not attached to the outcome, then not having it manifest by their desired date is not going to be such a blow to the system, because they have a surrendered inner space and they really know that if something doesn't manifest by the date they had intended, that they're just being rerouted to something that is more aligned for them. Okay. But if somebody has more of a sense of control over outcomes, and they're not really able to let go, and they're like, when is it happening? When is it happening? When is it happening? For them, I would say don't be so specific about the date, but I would keep your manifestation like within the year, because once we extend beyond the year, it starts to kind of get outside of our realm of what we can wrap our minds around. It's like a little too far out there for our human brain to conceptualize. So I would say like within the year, my intention is to manifest XYZ. Okay, so that's what I would say in regards to setting a date.
And also there's a huge difference between mini manifestations and big manifestations. And I think especially when you're starting out on your journey, focusing on mini manifestations is such a great way to build your vessel and to build trust with yourself and the universe. Like mini manifestations take anywhere from 0 to 3 months to come into your sphere. And it could be anything like a perfect juicer, or like even like a specific juicer that you want, that you get for free, or you're gifted or something like that, versus something like like buying a home, or like manifesting a promotion, or like getting a new role like in your career, or manifesting a partner. Like there is there's not a difference between how the universe discerns between manifestations like a $1 bill and $1 million. Like the universe doesn't see any difference between that. It's just, if we can't experience that in our own frequency, like we don't feel like that's something that is true for us, like that is what keeps the manifestations at bay. So it's all about learning to grow and expand yourself, starting with mini manifestations, it's like a really practical exercise to do. And then like once you get more practice, you can be like, okay, by this date, I'm in complete trust that this is going to happen. Like I'm not even worried about it.
That's right. It comes down to belief. So the big manifestations, like the big level of income, or the husband, or the big house, or whatever, the big ones, it's like you said, it's the universe doesn't discriminate between $1 or $1 million. It's more the discrimination happens in accordance to our belief systems. What do we believe is possible? And so starting with mini manifestations, I'll give you an example. And I like playing with mini manifestations all the time, because I'm always, even though I'm a teacher and student of manifestation my whole life, right? For me, working with mini manifestations on a daily basis just helps strengthen my belief muscle, and it just keeps me in constant communication with the divine, right? It shows me,
it's a great way just to live in the magic at the end of the day.
That's what I'm saying. And so like it can be as simple as, I had a client come to me, this was during COVID, and I was living in Israel. And I had a client come to me and recommend a very specific book on manifestation sourced in Kabbalistic Jewish text. And I was like, where am I going to get this book? Like everything was shut down in Israel. It was COVID, and places were not delivering to the country. And so, and also like my son was just born, so I was not in a position to go on a mission to look for this book. And so I kind of just like, I set the intention. I was like, universe, my intention is to have this book appear in some sort of intricately divine way. And so my husband and I are going on a walk one afternoon, and we have the babysitter with my baby at home. And on the way home from our walk, my husband was like, should we take the long way or the short way? And normally I would have been like, let's take the short way, because I really have to get back to the baby. And something in me said, you know what? I'm just feeling pulled to, like, I'm following that like voice of intuition that's pulling me to take a different route than we normally take. And then I opened myself up to the magic, and I'm walking in that direction. And there's literally like a bookshelf in the middle of the street. And it's in Israel, you see this a lot, where it's like these little mini free libraries where you can come and just like take whatever books you want. And it's like 100 books, and all of them are kind of like when you go to a library and you just see the binds of the books stacked one after the other. And while there's like 100 books, bind after bind, there's one book that's just face front, leaning on some other books, like, and I see the whole cover, and it's literally the exact book that I was calling in. And this is not a popular book. It's not like a book that would
Right. It's
just
like
be,
very niche.
it's very niched, and it was there, freebie for me to take. And so it's like opening yourself up to that would be a mini manifestation.
Amazing. Okay, cool. Great. So yeah, that's specific in timelines. And I also too like trust. There's so much with trust.
Mhm.
All right, next question. Okay, how to manifest when you are still healing and facing fears in your life? This is such a good question.
How to manifest when you're still facing, when you're still healing? Was that the question?
When you're still healing and facing fears in your life.
And facing fears. I mean, look, I think people look at me and think that I'm like exempt from feeling fear. It's like
or you're healed.
Or that I'm healed.
Completely.
Right? The manifestation methodology is all about healing in congruence simultaneously while working on your manifestation muscle. And you'll start to see, as you do the healing work, as you start to lean into your fear and not let it into the driver's seat, not let it sabotage your success, but kind of work with it alongside you, because your fear is also important, and your fear is there as information, right? It's our emotions are our GPS, and I never encourage anyone to like shy away from their fears or try to run away from their fears, God forbid. But no, go into them, honor them. The more you can honor them, the more they'll start to like dial down on their intensity and move from the driver's seat into the passenger seat, into the back seat, until eventually like they're in the next car. You know, but you don't ever want to like necessarily get rid of them, because these are all parts of you that have really learned and adapted over years how to create protective mechanisms to keep you safe. And that's important. And so by doing this healing work, by leaning into the fear and bringing it in with you, bring it into your manifestation process with you, you'll start to see that the more you do the work and the deeper you get into this alchemy, your manifestations will start to match the level of inner work that you're doing. And so for me, like, I'm still doing my inner work, right? I still have my places that need healing. I still have areas that cause fear, but I don't run away from them anymore. And I start to see, as I alchemize these processes, these experiences from within me, my manifestations start to reflect the inner work that I'm doing. So I don't think they're like mutually exclusive. I really think manifestation and doing the work go hand in hand.
Yeah, and receiving manifestations does not equate to completely healed or fear-free, like exactly what you're saying. And one, it's like, you're like, exactly, like one doesn't go without the other. I think too, like with everything with social media and, you know, like the world we live in, there's so much messaging around like my healing journey, you know, or like how I like my spiritual awakening, and then like, bam, then you're healed and like you understand life and you're enlightened and then you can manifest all these things. And that's such a lie. Like, it's not true at all. And the healing process, it's like a lifelong process. It really doesn't stop. It's like from when we're born until when we die. So it's just building a different relationship with it and integrating your fears and working with your fears in a new way, and like learning just to elevate your frequency even with having those fears. Like, that's what brings the manifestations in, not being totally evolved and enlightened and then bam, you're like floating on a cloud, like on a giant stack of money.
Totally.
Yeah. How does one start when you don't know anything about manifestation at all, like starting from ground zero?
So look, it's a journey like anything else. And I would say the starting point when you really don't know anything about manifestation is start to get clear on what it is that you want. Right? So many people don't even know what they want. Like, they'll kind of know what they want, but it's very broad, like broad strokes of knowing, not clarity. And so I would say the first step in any manifestation process, and where you start to see energy start to form itself around a specific intention is when we start to get clear about what we want. Because the clarity and knowing why you want what you want, that's an important piece. You start to really create laser beam focus in your own mind, in your own energy field. That's that energy, because the energy exists within your electromagnetic field. And electromagnetic has the word magnet in it. We are magnetic beings, and we have the capacity to magnetize our 3D reality into reality. Okay, but the first step is to get super clear. People come to me and they're like, Ayala, I want to manifest financial abundance. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean to you? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I just want a lot of money. I'm like, how much money is a lot of money? Like, they don't even know how to articulate or where to begin. And how much money do I need? Is a lot of money $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $50,000 a month, $1 million a month, right? It's like, if we don't know how much money we require as an individual in order to actually experience that frequency, that energy of finance, because financial abundance is a feeling at the end of the day. It's going to be different.
Financially abundant at $50,000 a year to $50 million a year.
And it's going to be different for everyone. It's going to be different for everyone. And so it's important to get clear on, like, okay, what does my lifestyle look like? Okay. And what does that lifestyle require financially in order for me to feel the freedom of that lifestyle? And so again, painting a picture and writing it down. It's really important. There's something that happens neurologically when we actually put pen to paper and write down our desires with as much clarity as possible. So I'd say step one in any manifestation process, especially in my like Abra series, is the ask. Abracadabra, ABRA, ask. Get clear. What are you asking for? What do you want the universe to deliver on? If you're confused about what you want, then the universe is going to reflect that and keep giving you mixed messages. Okay, so the more clear you are, the more the universe starts to code that information into the quantum field, and that translates back down into your 3D reality.
Amazing. It all starts with asking. And then our final question for today is actually a question that I know you get a lot and that we get a lot at Manifestation Mindset, which is, how do you know when you're asking for something to manifest that you're not going against Hashem's will, God's will, the will of the universe, your destiny? And this is such a deep topic that just shortly, how can we answer this question for this person?
So it's a great question. And I would say start honing in to your inner peace and alignment. What does that mean? When you're manifesting something that is in alignment with God's will or with your higher self, you will typically feel a deep sense of inner peace and alignment. So it creates this feeling of flow. When you're in a state of flow and things seem to be unfolding naturally and synchronistically, and they feel aligned, okay, then you know you're in alignment with God's will. But if you feel conflicted or you feel uneasy or anxious about what it is that you're manifesting, it could just be a sign that it's not fully aligned with divine guidance. Now, another thing I'll say is it's important to follow your joy and passion, because source energy is all love, is all joy, and is all good. So if you're following your joy and passion, kind of like a parent to a child, like if my children are doing what brings them joy and what they're passionate about, that's never going to be not in alignment with what I want for them, or at least it shouldn't be if I'm a decent parent, right? So many people believe that God places desires in our hearts as a compass towards our purpose.
Absolutely. And Kabbalah also, that's like completely sourced in Kabbalah.
This is totally Kabbalistic. So if you feel a deep passion or a joy when you think about something, then it could be a sign that God wants you to pursue it. So I would say pay attention to what lights you up, to what energizes you, because that's often an indicator that you're in alignment with source.
And I think too, a lot of people deal with, especially if you're spiritual or religious, the feeling of like having to surrender completely to the flow of the universe. Like there's this paradox of like being your own person with desires and wanting to create something from your life. or being and like being a completely empty vessel that we just like take in things from the outside world and, you know, create our lives like that, versus like we're completely at the mercy of God or the fates or destiny or whatever. We just have to surrender our lives and be like a leaf in the wind to that. And like those two ideas, they're total polar opposites of each other, but the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Like kabbalistically, like we are here to co-create with God, and being totally, you know, negating like God and thinking like, okay, like I just am completely a blank slate when I'm born, and I can make up life however I want it, like at any time, or just being completely subjugated to the will of the universe. Like neither of those ways are going to lead you to like the most optimal fulfilled life. You know, you have to remember that you're here to co-create, and there's like a dance you're doing with the universe.
100%.
And the key of learning what your destiny is rooted in your desires.
Exactly. Your desires are your GPS, and I wouldn't feel shame for having desires.
Right.
Okay, so that completes our segment for today's Q&A. Now, I know we didn't get to all the questions, and many of you might be listening to this and you might want your questions answered as well. So if you want your question featured on a future podcast, go ahead and message me directly on Instagram. I love hearing from my listeners. If this episode served you and you got some deep insight out of it, please comment below. And the biggest compliment that you can give us is sharing the episode with your friends who you think could really use some manifestation inspiration. Thanks so much for listening, and here's to your rising. If you enjoyed this episode, let's keep the conversation going inside the Manifestation Method Portal app, your #1 destination for Kabbalistic manifestation. Inside, you'll unlock the secrets of manifestation through my proven Abra method, rooted in Kabbalah, psychology, and quantum physics, designed to help you manifest real, tangible results from the inside out. Join our global community of manifestors, explore our signature courses, monthly live manifestation workshops with me, Ayelet, and access our transformational hypno activations and attunements to rewire limiting beliefs and align with your soul's purpose. The app is available now on the Apple App Store and Google Play. To sign up, head over to ayeletpolonsky.com. Becoming a co-creator with the Creator is your birthright. Let's manifest the life you desire and deserve together.